Hello, everybody. Brandee Sweesy here with BrandeeSweesy.com. And I have to admit, I'm a little nervous. It's been a while since I have personally done a Google Hangout. I do it for clients all of the time, but this is my first one. And wouldn't you know, this is the best part about being live is that I couldn't get my audio to work right before I came on air. So I thankfully have Carol Wayne with me, who is actually one of my clients, and you bought my course too, Carol, I think. But you know, so she's there. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. So we were fumbling around the background, and I thought, how dare I be the Hangout queen if I can't even get my audio to work? So sorry we're running like about 3 minutes late. But I want to thank you guys for being here. I already see some awesome questions posting. If you are not already registered, you go to hangoutsforbusiness.com. Right below the video is a place that you can go ahead and start entering questions. There's about a 45-second to 1 minute delay between what I'm actually saying and what you're hearing. So the sooner you start posting questions, the more likely we are to get into them. So I did this last minute in the last 24 hours, and of course I invited a few people, so people may be popping in and out throughout the program, because I always think it's better to learn by hearing people ask questions. So I want to welcome Carol Wayne, who is the founder of the Reinvention Show. And Carol, I'll let you tell a little bit about yourself and your experience with Hangouts. I know you have to get going in like 10 minutes, but I'll turn it over to you for a second, and I'll start looking at questions.
Great, thanks, Brandee. Well, as Brandee said, I have the Reinvention Show. I am a client of Brandee, and I was introduced to Brandee through our mutual friend Michelle Holmes, whom I just adore.
Yes,
and then I met the producer for the Reinvention Show, Keith Vachon, through Brandee's group too, and Keith was my producer for the last season of the Reinvention Show. Prior to that, the first 2 seasons, I did it all myself. And believe me, it is so much easier to do it with a producer. So, and what else would you like to know? The Reinvention Show is all about reinventing your life and your business. And we are on hiatus for the summer, but if you want to see any past episodes, you go to thereinventionshow.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, and thanks for giving a shout out to Keith. Keith is a rock star, and agreed. So here I am. I promote a lot of, I have Hangouts for Business Producers Academy, which teaches people how to be producers. And then of course I don't have a producer day. Like, what was I thinking? It would have been much easier had I had a producer. So I'm going to do it kind of old school with the iPad to look at questions and do different things like that. So what has been your success so far, Carol, with doing the Reinvention Show? Did you have a lot of fun doing that? Obviously with help,
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more fun with a producer, because all of the tech stuff that will really throw you off is handled by someone else. And even though my guests are typically, well, many of them were what I call hangout virgins, and we would joke that we had taken their hangout virginity, but many of them were also pros at Hangouts, and we still had some technical issues, and it was just so brilliant to only focus on the guest and what they were saying, rather than fiddle farting around in the background and trying to figure out why something wasn't working.
So, it's funny, when I did Producers Academy, I really thought that a lot more people wanted to be producers, because that's technically what I was calling myself. But you came into it because you wanted to do your show. And so what inspired you to want to have your show on Hangouts as well, as opposed to doing, video and call recorded type of things? Like, because you were one of the people that came in actually wanting to learn how to do it for yourself, and then realized it was a lot easier to have someone else do it for you. So, like, what inspired you to start getting into Hangouts?
Well, I had heard that this Google Plus thing was, the next best thing, and Hangouts was one of their products. And I am known as the Queen of Reinvention, and I believe in trying all sorts of new things. So I thought, why not give Hangouts a try? And it worked really well for me. I love the format. I love that it's live. I love that when things screw up, which they do, and when I mess up, what I'm supposed to say, it's okay that it's not perfect and polished. I get to show my personality. I get to, show everyone that I can't actually read any lines without screwing them up. So
This is why I love my clients, right? Because we all agree with like, yeah, I couldn't read a line without screwing it up myself. So yeah, totally agree with that. That was one of the big things in the beginning, so it's always an evolutionary process with all of our businesses and with Hangouts. In the beginning, I was a big proponent of Hangouts being the humanization of your brand, like me today, the quote unquote Hangout marketing queen, not being able to get my audio to work. You know what I mean? It was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and confess that that's exactly what happened, and it's all good. So yeah, I really love the humanization of the brand. That's like one of the big things. And then of course there's been all these other evolutionary processes with Hangouts and stuff. Charlize just joined us as well. Charlize, you're a rock star. She got stuck in traffic. She's like, I'm running a little late. I'm like, don't sweat it. It's going to be casual. Charlize is the Instagram queen. I don't think either one of us really like to call ourselves queens, but I think we're embracing it for the most part. I prefer Hangout hooker personally, but yeah, you're definitely the Instagram Insta influence is your product. So I want to thank you for showing up kind of last minute on this and saying hi. And I'll let you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, hi.
Yeah.
So I'm Charlize. I do have a course on Instagram called Insta Influence. I call myself the social media expert, and the only reason is because I have fallen on my face so many times. When I first started, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just made it happen. And it's my full-time job. I get 100% of my business online right now. And the Instagram course actually happened completely randomly. It was just people started reaching out, and I thought, hey, Brandee, you and I talked about it. I was like, all right, let's do this. So when you said, hey, you want to jump on, I was like, absolutely, let's do it.
Yeah, well, and I think that was a big thing. I'm putting on my over 40 glasses to read some of the comments coming in. But yeah, I think that's the best thing, right? You and I both share that where we kind of tripped into it. And Charlize, I don't know if you and Carol know each other. Carol's the queen of reinvention, which of course we love, right? Yeah. And so she has a reinvention show that she does on Hangouts, which are totally awesome. So I want to give shout outs to Mariah Neeson. Hey, Mariah, thanks for being here. She's like, just checking it out, that's all. Angela Wright, good morning from Australia, Sunshine Beach. Thank you. Tamara Hamilton, why aren't you on here? I sent you a link to come in and jump on so you can get in here and show your stuff. And then we have a couple more questions. We're going to get into some content as well. I know that Carol has to go take care of her daughter in a few minutes. So I know that we all use Hangouts. So what are some of the ways that, we know how I'm using Hangouts in business, but I'll start with you, Carol, because I know you have to leave in a few minutes. Other than the reinvention show, are you using Hangouts to, in your business to make money or anything like that you can share with people?
Not yet. What I want to do first is figure out how to monetize my show, and then I will expand upon it. I'm being interviewed by other people on their Hangouts, which is really cool. And the more you do it, the easier it is. And if I can just take a step back, when you asked me how I got into Hangouts, I missed the most important part altogether. I was scared to death of the camera.
Right. Which is so great on camera. So
thank you. So I took this video challenge with Michelle, who I mentioned a few minutes ago, and then I went, you know what, if I'm going to do this properly, I am going to commit to doing a show, and that's how I got into the show. And now I'm looking at how am I going to monetize it and put it on iTunes, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. So I labeled this today, how to use Google Hangouts for your business. So I want to make sure that people don't think that this is just an interview show. So we'll talk about it. We're going to discuss, several different ways. There's so many different ways. And like I said, there's, the evolutionary process of all of our businesses and the things that we discover. Last year I was pretty much on the bleeding edge, as I call it, with Hangouts. And, it's taken a while for people to catch up with how powerful Hangouts are. And I'm very fortunate that, people are, the highest in our industry are really starting to start shouting from now I'm on the cutting edge as I was bleeding out on the edge before. And, so just to throw out for those of you that are asking about, how you can use these in your business, obviously Carol's an example of doing web shows. Charlize is an example of, I saw you do one with Kate Buck Jr., last week or something like that, where you're really using it. Your, I don't want to say boyfriend because that always sounds, you know what I mean, but he's doing some rock star gangster stuff with Hangouts as well. So it's really starting to draw more attention, which is what inspired me to start talking about Hangouts again, because there was a while where it was very much, bleeding edge. But for those of you that have never done Hangouts, just I'll throw out a couple of things. It's like the web shows like Carol's doing with the reinvention show. Obviously, Charlize is using it. Almost, would you call it a webinar replacement, or are you having just more conversations, or are you using it as a webinar replacement?
Well, so I'm glad you brought that up. It's something that when you and I met, we talked about. So in the beginning, I was like, okay, Hangout, you want me to do a presentation? And so it was funny because people said, oh, well, we used to use, XYZ webinar platform. We're going to move it over to Google Hangouts. And so I was like, awesome. Well, you'll notice a complete difference in the way I do business now, and we talked about it, but in the beginning, it was like a webinar that I was not on camera at all. It was slide after slide, an hour of slides, and I could not figure out why I was not getting sales. I was like, that was a freaking awesome webinar or an awesome hangout, and I couldn't figure it out. And then one day, something happened with the slides, and it was just me on camera, and I was like, hey, what's going on? I sold so many copies of my course, and I was like, I don't get it. The content's the same, but it was because I realized this isn't a webinar platform, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it, but I realized people like the interaction. They like seeing us. They love knowing that I'm a real person, and they didn't want to see slides. So now when I talk about it, it's really a 50-50, if not 60% me on camera and just a few slides, because people like the interaction, and I just had no idea. I was doing an hour-long presentation on here, and everyone was dropping off, but it was a learning experience for me, for sure.
I love you for saying that, and I was going to talk about that. A lot of people, back when I was on the bleeding edge, I was really trying to get people to do it as a replacement to the webinar platforms, and so I was equally as guilty of doing a lot of slides. But as a speaker on stage, I never use slides. The companies have to make me use slides because I'm absolutely not slide dependent because I just find them boring. And so I did the same thing in the beginning where I was doing a lot of slides, and one of the first codes I cracked was how to share slides, because as we know, screen share in Hangouts, though amazing, is a little clunky. And it's not very smooth, and so you don't get that interaction. So it took me a little while to evolve that process, and a lot of pushback from online and direct response marketers was like, well, it's not like this program where you show slides. I was like, well, get away from slides altogether and just do a couple of visuals, because some of the things that we all teach, there are visuals involved where people want to see stats or how-tos or whatever. That's fine, but totally rock off of the whole slide dependent thing, and that was a big turning point. So I'm glad you brought that up without me having to bring that up.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you. I'll share this, and the reason why I share this is I teach from mistakes. I have to fall down flat on my face and then be like, okay, that's never happening again. And then I'll figure out how to fix it, and then I'll teach you how to not be as humiliated as I was. And it was like my first or second hangout. It was my second hangout, I know for a fact, and I was got my slide deck, and I'm going to rock it, and so I'm going through my presentation, 30 minutes in, I feel like a rock star, and then I go to check the questions, and everybody's like, anybody see the slides moving? The slides aren't moving. Anybody see the slides moving? Then the slides are moving. I'm Irish, right? So my whole, woof, bright red, right? I started breaking out in a sweat. I was like, okay, I'll just send the slides to everybody. And then people started answering, this is how you should do the slides. And if you just push play in your keynote, I'm dripping sweat. I'm just humiliated on air. And I was like, fuck it. You know what? I'll just send you the slide deck and we'll call that good. And you know what I mean? And then what did I do the next 24 hours? Figured out how to share slides on Hangouts. So yeah, that's how it usually goes down. But yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm paying attention to time because I feel for your daughter, Carol. Any parting words, anything you want to share, learn from my mistakes, where do you plan on going with Hangouts, how are you going to use them in your business, that kind of stuff?
Well, of course, we always make mistakes. That's how we learn.
Yeah.
And especially with a new platform, because we're all learning as we go along, and part of your community is that we help each other out when we discover something. So where I'm going to take this is I will be using Hangouts for my course that I'm launching shortly, and I will also use it as a customer service tool. One of the things you need to do when you're on a Hangout is turn your phone off.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Somebody get the phone quick, yeah.
Hold on, there. Just hang up on someone.
That's awesome.
And then what what am I going to do with it? I am going to teach my clients how to use Hangouts for their own customer service, for their own sales, for their own training, for their own engagement, because that's where I come from.
Are you gonna? So you're gonna charge for those services, right? Because they're for your clients as well. So do you work mostly with, internet marketers, people in the online space, or do you work with a lot of local clients?
My my clients are successful entrepreneurs, professional service providers, and local businesses. So
Awesome.
I really stay away from the IM space. To me, it's well saturated.
Yes, there's no competition ever, right?
No, not.
Yeah, no worries. I'm like, hello, I am space. Yeah. What's the name of your product that you have coming out? So at least they can start looking for you. Where can they find you?
Force Formula for Business Transformation. And it is a course that is actually 5 courses. The Foundation, Operations, Reach, which is Hangouts as part of Reach, Customer Experience, and Employee Experience. And they can go to forceformula.com for more information.
Awesome. And also carolwayne.com as well, correct?
That's right. Yeah, thanks very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, just as a reminder. Thanks so much for showing up last minute. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Off to the doctor with my daughter.
Feel better. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yeah, this is one of those 24-hour impromptu. So I love my friends that will just show up and support me in this effort.
Yes.
Yeah! I love you. Oh my God, you're rocking the adorable hat. Look at how cute you look. I love this.
I woke up, it's a laughing joke because my hair is so curly. Like all of my Facebook pictures, they're the professional ones, but okay, so we'll get back on Hangouts, but a funny conversation is, those shirts that are really popular right now that say, I woke up like this? I was like, I haven't mustered up the courage to do it yet, but I look like Dawn King when I wake up. My hair is so curly. Full on afro, and I was like, one day I'm actually going to take a picture and be like, I woke up like this. So that's the only reason I have a hat on. It's not to look cute. It's because I didn't want to embarrass you and have people go, Brandee, who was that chick that you got on the Hangout? She's crazy.
Girl, you and I both know I would never think that, right? Like, remember JFBU? You know what I mean? So no, there'd be no judgment. You're rocking the hat. I'm the same way. I always have a hat on. Like, Hangouts force me to actually put on makeup and wash my hair.
I know. I love it.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about Hangouts is because we actually have to look presentable on Hangouts. So yes, for our viewers, because I titled this, How to Use Google Hangouts for Your Business and How to Profit with Them, what are some of the ways, because I know that you're the Instagram queen, social media queen expert. I forgot what title that you like to take. Of course, you and I associate with Instagram and Hangouts.
Yeah.
What are some of the big ways that you're using Hangouts to really skyrocket your business? Because you have been skyrocketing for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? It's just, and I had a lot of questions to ask you, which was cool because people are always asking me about how to use Hangouts, what do you do? And for me, it's been, like I said, a complete learning experience because I had no idea. I was just like, sure, I'll hop on your Hangout. And, something that I did, and I think I brought it up to you, where I forgot how to do it live, and I made it to where only certain people could come on, like 10 people, and everyone was screaming at me, and the chat was going crazy and stuff. And so I actually just learned through my mistakes. But, what I appreciated about you and putting together something for business is a lot of people would, I'm just not that way, but a lot of people would have gotten frustrated and just not, stopped doing them or thought it was too difficult because it is, you don't realize there are a lot of moving pieces to this. And thank goodness for you because I can say, hey, Brandee, what's going on, but I didn't realize all of the pieces that were put together. But, as far as, there's if you use, Webinar Jam, or there's different pop-ups, or just like the custom overlays, and I didn't realize how cool it was to be able to really brand yourself as a show. Some people are using Google Hangouts as, hey, Charlize.tv, and I'm like, oh, what? How did you do that? And it's really awesome, all of the cool features that, Google Hangouts actually has that people don't realize. And so for my business, for instance, like I said, getting on camera and just doing a show, a hangout, people feel relaxed. It's cool for me because it draws people into my business because they think, oh, I could do that. All right. And so it just makes people's shoulders go down. It's not stuffy. It's something that, as far as business is concerned, if you really want to relate to your audience, man, I have not found anything like it that that makes me more relatable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, that's why, like, I was actually gonna buy the trademark, the humanization of your brand, because that was the first thing that I really thought about Hangouts, because I really study the psychology of how people behave, right? So being in marketing and public relations and strategic development for 20 years, I'm always trying to figure out what motivates people to do things, how they interact. And so in the beginning, I was really like, again, on the bleeding edge of going, it's the humanization of your brand. This is your only opportunity to connect. Because we had blogging, which had transparency. Then the next thing was we had the teleseminar, so we got some tonality. Then we had the webinar type platform where we had some visual with some tonality. Then we got into video marketing, which of course is all we've all heard about for the last few years. And it's really fascinating to me that only recently Gary Vee, his rise to fame was YouTube marketing with Wine Library TV. But he's just now, like in the last month or two, focusing back on his YouTube channel. So it's really not to be neglected. Like some people are thinking, oh, well, that's done. No, it's just now beginning to ramp up.
I agree. And Brandee, even when, just the short period of time since I launched my product, I look back on my first Hangouts and I've seen the progression just by seeing what you're doing, just by really paying attention and actually taking tips. It's one of those things where just like Instagram, people are like, you can't use that for business, or oh, Google Hangouts, who cares? I'm like, no, this has totally skyrocketed my business. Google Hangouts it's been a complete turning point, and people are asking, when are you doing your next Hangout? When are you doing your next Hangout? I never had that before when I was just doing straight up webinars. I just didn't. And now people are like looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because you're so fantastic on camera too. You know what I mean? Like I think you're like, thank you, shucks. Yeah, it's so true because I say that a lot. Like in the beginning, I say bleeding edge a lot. In the beginning, people were like, oh, no, we have to have this registration process and all these reminders and all these different things. I was like, yeah, but we couldn't buy this traffic. There's no way to buy this traffic. People around the world that have never heard of you, have no idea who you are, could care less of who you are, will find you because it's on YouTube, and it's the #2 search engine on the planet, and it's owned by Google. So the Google gods pretty much smile upon you when you play with their products. You know what I mean? And especially because it's their baby. So I see Adrian, my rock star community manager, joining in, and one of the guys that has been hanging on the bleeding edge with me since the beginning. Let's see, Adrian, I see your photo, but I don't see you on camera. So are you here? Let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I don't see your camera.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this. I haven't been on Hangouts in a while, so my studio's not quite set up right yet. But here I come, though, live and living color, baby. You know it. I'm coming soon. Adrian.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, there you go. You're on camera. You got it.
Yeah. Not HD though, but I'm here.
Yeah, that's all right. It doesn't have to be HD. I hate HD personally. I like it when my HD doesn't work. But yeah, Adrian, meet the queen of Instagram, Charlize. Charlize, meet Adrian, my awesome community manager. He's the one that throws down the hammer when you don't post post spammy stuff in my Facebook group. He will lay down the law on you.
How are you, Charlize?
Well, she muted herself because she didn't think I could control the camera properly, so she went ahead and muted herself. But I got the camera control. Don't worry, Charlize. You can unmute yourself once in a while. Yeah, I didn't mute you. You're muted yourself. But yeah. Anyway.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, there you go. That's what I'm like. I got the camera, but good job as a guest. One of the #1 things that I despise about watching Hangouts is when people allow the normal sound control to do that. Like, it's so simple. All you have to do as the Hangout initiator is to click on the thumbnail and make sure that you're in the main screen. So I've clicked on my little thumbnail to make sure that I'm in the main screen. When Charlize talks, I click on that, because if you leave it up to the sound control, you'll get motion sickness watching it.
Yeah, I forget that you're a professional. I'm used to being on a couple other ones where I'm like, I better just mute it so I'm not popping up going, hey.
Exactly. That's why I love you, because you're the professional guest, right? I do the same thing when I'm in a Hangout and I don't know if they know what they're doing. I just mute myself. I keep on muting myself because I can't trust them to control the camera. So I do the same thing. So I applaud your awesomeness as a guest on a Hangout. That's so cool.
How are you, Charlize?
I'm doing great.
Great. Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Excited to be here. I'm like picking her brain slash, you know, bowing down, because we were just talking about it earlier. I have learned so much about Hangouts, and if you watch my first compared to how I do them now, it's like night and day, and Brandee has helped a lot with all of that. So I was just saying how important it's been for growing my business.
There's Adrian with the applause. Good job, Adrian. It's such a guy thing. Guys always do the Google effects, right? That's such a guy thing.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So Adrian, you went through my course, and you were a part of the Elite Producers Academy as well. So what are some of the ways that you've seen some of your clients, or you've been using Hangouts, or what are some of the things that you'd like to share with the public about how to use Hangouts, or mistakes, you know, anything that you want to share?
Well, really, I've seen that Hangouts just had that SEO juice. That's pretty much what I've seen. Like I'm sure you've already said, Google, YouTube, SEO. You know, that's today's veggie drink. You know, if you using Hangouts properly, you'll get a lot of SEO juice. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. I don't like being called a Hangout expert, because I full disclosure at the beginning of this Hangout said that I couldn't figure out how to get my own audio to work. So I'm by no means a tech person. Like if your Hangouts break, I'm sorry. I'm sure there's a help out section someplace that could help you with that. It's more about marketing and strategy, and that's really, I think I'm the only person that talks about it in a product or client form, is, you know, really paying attention to having a solid strategy if you're going to start doing Hangouts. I've watched so many people recently, and huge people in our industry, you know, do Hangouts, and clearly they hired some type of expert that was more G+ related, and watch them, you know, something will happen with their Hangout, they lose all their affiliate markets. Just seen disaster after disaster, and then those people go and publicly bash Hangouts and say, oh, it was the Hangouts' fault. It's like, no, you just need to have a better strategy when you're going to do them. Stuff's going to break, just get over it. I mean, it's free. You know what I mean? You can't be that mad about it. But now, and I haven't talked about this publicly, and I don't know how many people know this, they just rolled it out, I think 4 days ago, where if you Google someone's name and they're on a Hangout, it'll be right there with this big, beautiful image of the person. They're on live now. You can click it and go watch them live on a Hangout.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, gangsta. There's some gangsta stuff happening right now. So, you know, to be neglecting any of, you know, like I love this, and I love that, you know, like Charlize and Matt and I were talking about, like I joke around that Matt was a cock blocker at that mastermind we were in, but it was good because he validated what I've been saying for such a long time, you know, is really the SEO juice is really the power of that. So we can talk about, you know, a lot of which buttons to push, and yeah, those are, you know, they're not necessarily intuitive, but the power is in how much they keep on upping the Hangouts. So, you know, now it's HD. Now you can do enhancements. They just rolled out this week the Showcase app. So if you're doing a Hangout and you have the Showcase app, you can have a CTA, a call to action button, show up for people to click to go. Now it's still a little clunky. It's going to take a little bit of workarounds. You know, I'm all about the workarounds. You know, it's going to take some workarounds if you're going to do something like that, but absolutely, they are really targeting, I think, you know, businesses and people that are in marketing and trying to make it as easy as possible to incentivize people to take certain actions on Hangouts. So that's really important.
Hey, Brandee?
Yes, my love.
I have Tamira Hamilton said that the link that you posted is saying that she's the only person on the call. I didn't know which link we're supposed to be giving.
The one that I gave to you for you to join in, Adrian. Adrian, will you jump into the community and do that real quick? Can you do that? She's in the community. So thank you for doing that, because I was like, you know, it's so hard, like when you're you know, I'm like looking at the iPad, and then I should have it on the screen back here. But
no, and I'm the same. I love that we're both not tech people. I'm like, hold on, what link? I sent you a text, and I'm like, it's not working. Oh, never mind.
Oh, did you? I didn't even get that text. I have my phone right here. But like a good Hangout person. Oh, there it is. Charlize just sent me a text like an hour ago, probably. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. So Adrian being the awesome community manager that he is probably helping her out. So I hope she comes in here, because she's a friggin' rock star. I love her. Absolutely. Yeah. Did you find her? Did you track her down? Adrian's got himself muted now too.
Okay, I just sent it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Yeah. What else? Okay.
What was her name? What was her name again?
Tamara Hamilton.
Tamara Hamilton. No problem.
Yeah. She's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
So, Brandee, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, please do. The more questions, the better.
So a lot of people say, so I don't understand. Like, I want to use Google Hangouts for my business. How did you get started? And I got started because someone had asked me to be on their Hangout. But what if you're in business and you see the value, you see you and I on, you're like, man, they're crushing it. What would you say? Like, what's some advice to give them? Like, here's what you need to do.
I love you. Good segue. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is just think about exactly what you want to accomplish, right? So some people are going to use it as a webinar replacement. Some people are going to use it to try to build authority. Some people are going to try to use it to build their list. So before you even start the Hangout or even try to open up the application, think about what is my goal with this. And this is what I really think happens to a lot of people is I'm guilty of this as well. Actually, you and I talked about this last week, the analysis paralysis, where we end up thinking that there's too much going on that we won't even get started. So I tell people, like, just get started. Like, flip open your laptop. You do not want 1,000 viewers on your first Hangout. Trust me. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to take you a little while to get confident on camera. But if you know what your strategy is going in, so I'm trying to build my list, or I'm trying to gain authority, or I'm just trying to make sales, I just say, like, just start off with, like, little 10-minute, I call them coffee talks or happy hour talks or whatever. Like, Gary Vee's doing, like, I think it's like a 12-minute show right now on his YouTube channel. Just start doing some stuff like that so you get comfortable with the moving parts and really pay attention. So my process is very, so I've always said this, you want to control the environment where they watch, which is what makes me not a G+ expert. I still, today was the first day I've posted on G+ in 6 months. So, that's not my strategy is G+. Do I think that you need to learn it? Absolutely. When you learn it and simplify it, I'll be more than happy to buy your course. But until then, I'm just not over there doing it. So what I say is, get comfortable with the Hangout platform and then use what you have. So like for me in the beginning, this was 1.5 years ago, I had optimized press 1, not 2, 1. And I just figured out how to build a landing page, and it's still, Hangouts for Business is still exactly that. Here's my email, flip it over to a watch live page, here's some Facebook comments, ask some questions. That's what I happen to have. So whatever you're comfortable with, do that and drive traffic to your website to a controlled environment. Do not try to commit to 1 hour, big webinars where you're trying to close out sales. Get comfortable with the platform and start that way. But do not, and this is the biggest missing piece that I see with everyone, with the exception of the 2 or 3 people that you and I know, Charlize, is that they're neglecting the whole YouTube Hangout juice piece. So make sure that, so you'll notice I didn't title this, Brandee Sweesy does Google Hangouts. I titled it, How to Use Google Hangouts in Your Business to Make Money. Because when I go into YouTube, I don't say, where's Brandee Sweesy and is she talking about Hangouts? That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to solve a problem. And so people really need to pay attention when they always title their things like, EVP episode 37. Well, I've never, ever gone onto YouTube or Google and said EVP episode 7. You know what I mean? I'm trying to solve a problem. So make sure that you're titling it with, some type of problem solve. And then additionally, keyword tagging it, putting in your description above the fold, whether that be your website. And what I mean by above the fold is in the YouTube description, making sure that, you have some type of call to action right there, because most people are not going to do the show more. Now, do spend some time on that show more, but make sure that first 2 lines has some type of call to action that you want them to have. So did I answer that question? Because I like to ramble on.
Yeah. That's important because, just like you said, my very first one, because I'd only been a guest on some, I did everything wrong. I was like, 1 hour long, I'm inviting everyone, I put it on Google+, I didn't put it anywhere. I did the opposite of what you just said to do.
Yeah. Well, like now, see, I'm like trying to go over and control other stuff. Yeah, I mean, we all do. I mean, how did I learn how to do all this stuff? Because I fell flat on my face numerous times. And, like I said, back in the beginning, I did a birthday bash, and I was trying to launch another brand. And I got like 600 viewers. I was like, how did that happen? And why aren't we all doing this? And then I hired a couple of experts, and, they're like, you have to get circles, and you have to create an event, and you have to get, I was just like, oh, my head hurts. Like, really? And the whole thing with the circling thing is that you're not in control of your end user's experience. So if you circle them and invite, like the #1 complaint I get from everyone, like I get the emergency text messages all the time. They're like, I can't get my people in. And I was like, well, I know that that's what the experts say, to circle people up, invite your circle into the Hangout, but you're not in control of your end user's notification process. And so that's why people are always pulling their hair out with that, is because, you know, I in my slide presentations, I do say, oh, look, it says push screen share and this will happen. That never happens. Oh, look, invite people and it says that'll happen. That never happens, right? You know what I mean? So my first claim to fame was really making it simple. That's when people started offering me money. They're like, oh, you simplified this for me. You know, but then the next phase of development is obviously, you know, particularly in your business, really thinking about your strategy. I got my glasses on. You know, thinking about your strategy, you know, and what you want to accomplish with your Hangouts. That's the most important piece of the puzzle. So, Adrian, are you acting like a producer over there? I see you pushing a lot of buttons. Maybe you can start being the producer and feed me some questions, unless you have some.
No, I was trying to help Tamara, but she's on the road trying to connect with her iPhone, and that's kind of a challenge.
Yeah,
but, really, all I really have to say is that strategy is an important thing, because it's like trying to run a play in a sporting event and not knowing what you're doing. Just ready, fire, okay, let me go back and aim now. Like, and that strategy is so important. I mean, you wouldn't take on going on a road trip without a strategy. So doing a hangout is very important to have a strategy. Why am I doing this? What is my end game? I definitely have learned that much from you, for sure, to have that strategy in place.
Is that because I put a sledgehammer to your head all the time about that? Probably, but yeah. yeah, I know. For our few viewers that are on here, I will try to go back and look at questions here shortly. Oh, I know I had a couple really important questions. One was from Veronica. I'm going to do this off of memory. She was talking about using them for webinars. And Charlize and I both spoke to this earlier, but I'm going to reiterate that, you know, webinars / hangouts is a term that I kind of is a cheesy term that I have for it. You know, the strategy on a hangout is different from what would be traditionally on like a webinar platform. You know, we know the hi, here I am, here's my social proof, here's my content, buy my stuff. You know what I mean? It's a totally different vibe on a hangout. You really want to be connecting with people. I didn't do it on today's, but you know, you want to do a couple little pattern interrupts as opposed to a screen share. Totally different strategy. What really makes an effective webinar or hangout or anything else is the lead-in. It's the indoctrination period. It's, you know, it's what you're taking people through the process prior to them actually joining you live on air, whether that be on a webinar or on a hangout, is really making sure that you have a solid process going into it before they even see you on air, and then a great follow-up process. And so that's really important. So like for this one, if you are on my list, if you did register at hangoutsforbusiness.com, you notice that I sent out something. I encourage you to post questions prior to me going on air because of the 45-second to 1 minute delay. You know, then I reminded you this morning that we'd be going live this afternoon. Please post your questions. Go ahead and start getting those rolling. And then 10 minutes before, here you go, now we're going to be on live. Of course, there'll be a follow-up sequence as well. So that's one of the ways to do it. Another question, and again, I'm doing this off of memory. I can't think of her name, but she'll know if I'm talking about her. She's from the UK, and she's a rock star. She has corporate clients. And so she was asking, she is already on my list, so she said she was asking how specifically should she ask people to register. Because she's on my list, I wasn't driving traffic to hangoutsforbusiness.com. I was driving traffic to the Watch Live page. So she missed that part of the sequence. So that in response to your question, yes, you want people to register at a particular page, and then you send the link of people that have given their email to a Watch Live page. So the only reason that you missed that initial step was because you were already a part of my community. And so I was just sending out where to watch live and where to post questions. So hopefully that answered that question. Woo! I need to take a sip of water. Charlize, Adrian, you got anything? And then I'll try to look at questions real quick.
So I was going to ask a question, and I'll wait till you drink water. But as far as I noticed that. That was something that I actually took a note of. I was like, oh, she gave me a reminder, because I'm like, I was almost home in traffic, and then, you know, I hear my phone going off, and then I get to my actual desk, and I go, awesome. Had I even forgotten, I still get a reminder, which was awesome. But I've noticed, and I've done this too, is dropping the ball after I do a hangout. and people constantly saying, well, is there a replay? Well, what's going on? How do you manage that? Because I've messed up a lot, and I've had to go, oh, hold on, I'll email it. Oh, go to my YouTube. So how do you not make that mistake? Because I feel like I lost a lot of people. One day, for instance, we were talking about earlier, I did it where it was a hangout versus live. So then we started over, and then a lot of people had already said, oh, forget it. And then I didn't know how to get them the information once it was done. So do you have a specific strategy that maybe, or like a couple tips you could give so I don't look dumb again?
Yeah. I mean, so what I do is, like, so when I decided to do this hangout last minute yesterday, right? So I went in and timed all of my sequences. So I went in and scheduled them in advance because I was going to drop the ball. And actually, Michelle reminded me, she's like, oh, hey, don't forget, you should post to G+. You're doing a hangout train. I was like, oh, I always forget about G+. You know, so I'm like scrambling last minute to post to G+ to make sure that G+ hangouts were going to, you know what I mean? Like, I remember to post to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So what I do is the second that you schedule it, I put out the entire sequence. Cool. So I go in, and so the replay link, now where am I going to put, I'm not going to put the replay link to YouTube. I'm not going to put the replay link to any place else. I'm going to do it to, where do I want them? In my controlled environment, right? So ideally, I want them in my controlled environment. If you're watching this from YouTube, love you, mean it, go register at hangoutsforbusiness.com because that's the only place I answer questions. You know what I mean? So I'm really trying to control that sequence. So last night I wrote, you know, my reminder. God, I can't believe I'm sharing this. But you know what? We're all marketers, and you know, if you know me, I'm always transparent. So, you know, I wrote this morning's email last night. I wrote the 5-minute till or 10-minute till email last night. I wrote the follow-up, you know, tonight, still there. I wrote another one. All of them going to the Watch Live page. Right, so all of them is, so you know how like normally with webinars there's like there might be a replay. Well, of course we always know there's going to be a replay, right? They always say there might be a replay, but we know that we're going to get one. So instead of having to render it take time, because in truth sometimes those do mess up, and that's why there's not a replay. But just go ahead and have that sequence and series of events of the actions that you want people to take going throughout. So
well, I mean, even though you're like, oh, I don't want to be trying, I think that's awesome because I'm telling you, I've dropped the ball on that where something won't go as planned, and then I'm like, ugh, I'll just get it out whenever, and I lose a lot of people because of my own frustration. So even though, you know, you're like, oh, I don't want to say it, I think that's awesome because that's taking the initiative because stuff happens, life happens, and once you drop the ball, then you're like, oh, I'll do it next time. But even if, you know, something messed up for you, you're on top of it, and trust me, people like, you know, Tamara that are on the road and stuff like that, that matters. You know, the preparation matters. So yeah, I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing is this goes back to strategy. Like, I think the big missing piece, you know, like I love the experts and I've hired the experts. You know what I mean? The G+ experts, I've paid them money to help me out with some of this tech stuff. You know, the missing piece has been, you know, marketing and strategy, you know, and I was fortunate that I knew those things. You know, they have incredible communities. I pay them money. I think they're fantastic when it comes to the tech stuff. But, you know, a big missing component in Hangouts is really talking about the marketing and the strategy and how to actually make money with them. You know, the pushing buttons and making things, you know, don't break and doing different things, fantastic, and I'm more than happy to pay people for that. But more what I am passionate about is talking about, you know, the strategy of how people can make money. And, you know, like I get interviewed, I don't know, 5-6 times a week. And, you know, the number one thing is like, well, what businesses could use Hangouts? I'm like, there's not a business. You can name, like I've had people name, like I was on one interview, it's like, okay, car covers. How could people that make car covers do Hangouts? And like, you know, again, going back to the SEO value of that, having a Hangout, having that outrank a YouTube or a blog post or anything like that is really important. So if you do car covers, that's a very passionate niche of people that will buy covers for their car. So you could demonstrate, you know, how great your covers are, what they're made of, you know, in little 7-minute little clips on Hangouts on Air. You know, you don't have to be an internet marketer to really get the value of this. And it's only going to get bigger. You know, I've been on the bleeding edge for 1.5 years, and now it's starting to become more marketers are starting to understand it. But you got to remember, like in our industry, that's, you know, 1% of the population that really gets, you know, how big that could be for your business. So that's really important.
And I love that you just brought that up, Brandee. I want to say that because I get the same thing with Instagram. You know, people are like, whatever. I'm telling you guys, and I know this, if you're listening to what Brandee's saying right now, I mean, you're around some of the most successful internet marketers in the world, and you're still ahead of a lot of them. You know, like these guys know a ton, and you're still just one step ahead. So I always say on the beginning of all mine, like, guys, you have no idea what you're on the cusp of, because it's only going to get better. It's only going to, you know, there's only going to be more transgression with it. And so if you're in now, it's like when we were just at that mastermind, I was talking to people and I was like, oh yeah, this and that, and oh no, I don't. And same thing with you. You're like, oh, I already knew that about Google Hangouts. I'm like, but you're so far ahead of us. So it's awesome that you put together a course, because a lot of people want to hold that information and forward, and instead of that, you're like, guys, you have no idea what's happening right now. This is great.
Thank you so much. You're such a rock star. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny because the course is like, what I charge my 1K clients. You know what I mean? Like the course is everything laid out in one thing. And great segue to the pitch. Way to position that, Charlize. Thank you so much. You know what I mean? But I want to make sure that I'm answering questions as well. For people in the audience. Adrian, like I said, is a part of my elite producers as well, and all of that. Oh, and I do have a question for you, Charlize, because I was thinking about this, because I was like, Hangouts, Instagram, because you're on the leading edge with the Instagram. I was trying to figure out how could you put Hangout videos on Instagram, or if that's possible. Could you embed a YouTube in there on Instagram or no?
So what I do and what I've had success with is giving a little teaser. So I always tell people I'm really big on calls to action on Instagram, because people say, come on, how can you really pull business off? I've built a huge list because I'm always using calls to action. So what I tell people a lot of the time is take a little teeny clip, a little snippet where people are like, what, oh, I can't believe what bombs were dropped in this Hangout. You have to go here. You use a call to action, you pull them off of Instagram, and you send them to your Hangout. So it's absolutely doable. And here's the thing. Videos are such a small percentage right now that if you are using video, I don't care what kind of video it is. I'm on Instagram all day sometimes, and it doesn't matter what video it is. I'm like, I want to know what they posted, because people don't take the time. It's easier to post a picture than it is to take time to do a video. So if you are showing even a small clip and you're pulling them to your Hangout, you're pulling them to your YouTube channel, you're pulling them even to your own, like you like to keep your hub. Even if you're showing a little snippet and pulling them to your hub, game over as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. Love it. Yeah, because I was thinking about that yesterday. I was like, wow, because all I did was post an image, posted an image and then drove traffic to hangoutsforbusiness.com to get people to register and ask questions. But I was like, what if I could do a little snippet of the Hangout and post that on Instagram? Wonder how that would go down, and SEO value and all of that kind of stuff too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're coming up close. Adrian, you got something?
Well, somebody had a question. They sent it to me, and
oh, awesome!
And it kind of goes back to what you all were talking about like 2 minutes ago. They were saying, aren't Hangouts old already? And I like to answer that one kind of. It's like Charlize said, we're so, by you being in the internet marketing hub, you get so much information so much faster than mainstream population. By the time they actually catch up to it, it's still fresh to them. So Hangouts are still quite fresh and still exploding, and Instagram, I'm sure, is exploding. I haven't yet jumped into that part, but I'm sure you're the one to find out about that. But everything you all are saying is so true. You get, by being in that inner hub, you get stuff so much faster than everybody else. Like YouTube videos are still popular, they still pack a punch. So no, to answer the question, it's not. You haven't missed the boat. Actually, the boat is still tied to the dock, but you got to get on it now, though. You got to get on.
I love you, Adrian. Yeah, it's so funny. I was even personally, and I'll tell you, like, I'm always willing to admit my own insecurities, because I've been in it for a while now, and I'm like, is Hangouts really relevant? And then we were in that mastermind. Charlize and I were in this mastermind with 80 of the smartest people on the planet by far. Like, you could not have assembled the biggest in our industry in one room at one time for an entire weekend. And they are just now like, oh, I didn't think of that. So if they haven't hit it, mainstream is not even close to hitting it. They're probably another year or two out on this. You know what I mean? So, same thing, like, just because I've been spouting it, like if you're on, if you're a part of my tribe and you've been around me for a while, I've been talking about it for a while. Absolutely not. and I saw, and I don't usually like to call people out, but I saw a couple of massive people in our industry do a couple of things, and they crashed the Hangout. They sent all this traffic to an event, and then somehow they crashed the Hangout. And for the record, a Hangout never crashes because of viewers. Never. That's what they'll send out in the email, but something happened as the user behind the scenes. Viewership will never crash a Hangout. But unfortunately, it gives Hangouts a bad reputation in that they'll say, oh, so many people were registered to crash the Hangout. No, that's not possible. What happened is you pushed some button behind the scenes and you fucked it up. I mean, that's basically what happened. So when you see those kind of emails come out and you see, some big people and something happens, and it has nothing to do with software either. I want to say that as well. There's a lot of the software, I call them wrappers. There's a lot of the software plugins. If something goes wrong in a Hangout, it has nothing to do with the software. It has to do with you not knowing how to do a Hangout. So a lot of people will buy these different wrappers or these different softwares or these different plugins and then think that the software sucks. No, you need to understand how to do a Hangout, and it has nothing to do with that software. The software doesn't make the screen share break. The software doesn't make the Hangout crash. Something happened behind the scenes that made that happen. So I'm off my soapbox. Charlize, you were going to say something, so go ahead.
Oh no, I agree. I'm just listening. I got my notes.
Yeah. So I mean, just keep that in mind. So a lot of times, and I may change, just like everything. In the beginning, I was really very much about the humanization of your brand. Then I tried to transition into it being a webinar replacement, and I tried to do a lot of slides and the landing page and the reminder page and different things. Then I transitioned to a different psychology. So just like with everything, the strategy and the psychology are always evolving as the audience becomes more familiar. So at this time, I'm not a big proponent of creating an event, because if something happens, you have to recreate an event, you lose that viewership, you're scrambling behind the scenes to send, oh, oops, wrong link, oh, oops, no, go watch it here, oh, oops, go watch it there. So a big reason why I like to keep it in one particular hut, as you were saying, or hub, is that if I personally crash it and I screw something up or my internet craps out on me, I can quickly go in and change out the link, and I still have a controlled environment. So I don't have to change all of my email responders prior to that. I have this controlled environment where I'm able to do it, and I'm able to do it rapidly. Within 30 seconds, I can close this Hangout, start a new Hangout, get that link, embed it on my site, publish, done, boom, out. You know what I mean? So I'm not stressing out going, oh, wait, go watch it here. Oh, no, go watch it here. Oh, no, go watch it at this event. Oh, go watch it at this YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So I have that. I like that control. I'm a control freak, so I like a controlled environment where, I like to be proactive instead of reactive in most instances. You know what I mean? To the best of my ability. So that's really important to say, too. Do we have any more questions, Adrian? I don't know.
I haven't got
Okay. I always say don't be audience dependent on a Hangout as well. I always say this to all of my clients. Do not rely on the audience. Be able to rock your content, keep talking, and never turn and say, do we have any questions? But Adrian showed up, and now I've become codependent.
No problem. But I do have one just for clarity. Where can people find out more information about your course and how they can learn about Hangouts?
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you guys are such rock stars. So yes, of course, I do have a course. It's called Hangouts for Business. There should, God, like tech gods willing, a button right now below this video. What I'm doing, so here I'm going to show you, here's an example of how to make an offer without doing the whole clunky slide thing. So you can go in and you can say, okay, here's Hangouts for Business Producers Academy. You get 10 modules. It's a membership site. It's how to sell on a Hangout, how to use Hangouts for webinars, how to build authority with a web show, video marketing on Nitrous, how to be a producer. It also comes with a lot of, Adrian's, he has the course. It comes with a quick and easy guide, what apps you use, the psychology, marketing your Hangouts, and that type of stuff. Because we are switching merchant accounts and we're doing a couple different things, normally this course is $497. I'm offering it today until Monday for $297. You also get the Facebook group where Adrian will put a sledgehammer upside your head if you try to spam in any way, shape, or form. However, if you have a question, he will not let you be missed as well. He is on it. He actually called me the other day, said, somebody's trying to join the group right now. Should I let them in? He will not let anybody slip through the cracks, but he'll make sure your answers make sure your questions will get answered. We also have the swipe files, the checklist, the setup guides. I am actually going to add in, because this is probably the #1 question that I get asked a lot. I'm building out right now the ultimate Hangout blueprint, which is actually going to be its own separate course, and it's going to talk about a sequence of events, the entire flow chart, the mind map, all of that. It's going to be a separate course, but I'm offering that as a bonus for those that sign up throughout the weekend. And like I said, normally it's normally, well, $9.97 is what some people say, $6.97, $4.97, blah blah. You know, $2.97 is the price. There you go. Yeah, so $2.97 for this weekend only, and then we'll be rolling out a few of the other courses. The button should be below. It should be time. It should say add to cart right there. Give me access now. If you have any questions or that button is not showing up, then you can find me at Brandee at brandeesweesy.com. Thank you, Adrian, for segueing to that. Any more questions, last thoughts? What do we got going on?
Are Hangouts a replacement for Skype?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would be doing Hangouts as a replacement for Skype. The bandwidth, the dedication of the bandwidth that they're putting into Hangouts with HD, all of these enhancement features, a control room, the cameraman app, like they have really, like NASA does Hangouts, Branson does Hangouts. It's better, it's more stable. Skype is not really that stable. Skype was charging if you screen shared, but now they're not charging because they know that Hangouts are becoming a competitor. You know, though I say in a webinar, Hangout type format, the screen share is a little clunky. If I was collaborating, you know, with, you know, a project manager or a virtual assistant, it doesn't matter because it's okay in a private consultation to be like, oh, okay, 1 second, let me push this button. And there'd be like, you know, we're just finding stuff in a consultation. When you're live on air as a presentation, you want 0 dead time. Because it's just, you know, 5 seconds of dead air time is like an eternity for everyone involved. So you always want to be like, you know, moving fast, keeping the pace, keeping the energy up.
And I do have one other question came in.
Okay.
Can you give an example of how someone can charge to use the Hangout, as in like a consultation type service? Like if you had a private client, could you use the Hangout for that?
I charge $1K an hour for my private consultations, and I do them all in Hangouts. So I go into YouTube live events. I create a new live event. I name it what my client's name is. Right there you can mark the video as unlisted, private, or public. I obviously mark it as private. I start broadcast just like I would a Hangout on air. We have our consultation. I end broadcast. I send them the link. You know, in the past, we'd have to use call recorder or ScreenFlow or something like that. Then we'd have to convert it, move it to an MP4, Dropbox it, send the Dropbox. You're talking about 4 or 5 hours of work. Now I end broadcast, send the link, done. So that's how I do it.
So pretty much it can be used for concert. What's it called?
Consultations. Consultations. I love you, Aiden.
Oh, right.
Yes,
right.
For consultations. Yes, it can be used for that. Yeah, all of my consultations are done that way. That's how I use them now. This is what I love about Hangouts. They're constantly changing, adding. You know, they're thinking of us, people that are business owners and marketers and that type of stuff. So they're always adding that. And that to me is one of my favorite. When they rolled that out, I was like, yes, I hate ScreenFlow. Not that I hate ScreenFlow, I love it. But, you know, having to convert it to an MP4 and being that I'm not techie, then something would always break or I'd screw something up or not load it right. So it's perfect. Boom, on YouTube, send them a link. All they have to do is click the link and you're off and running.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Anything else? You got it? Are we coming?
That's all that came in so far.
All right. Well, thank you for jumping in and being the community manager, Adrian. You didn't even know you were getting roped into that, did you? But yeah.
But what I've learned with you, expect the unexpected. Ready, fire, aim. Oh, look, I needed you over here. Oh, no problem. I got you back. It's all good.
Yeah, well, I was telling Charlize, and I will do full disclosure. Like, yeah, I was so nervous today. I was like, yep, here's my Corona bottle. I sent that to her. It's like, yeah, I'm going to just, you know, we're going to be casual about this. Don't sweat it. But Charlize, tell everybody where they can find you, because you are rocking it, sister.
So you know what? I'm just launching my website, so I'm just telling everyone right now that connects with me on Facebook. I'm more trying to give other people value than try to get sales at this point, and it's working out like crazy. So it's facebook.com/Charlize. I really just, seriously, Brandee, like no joke, I have a bunch of notes. I just want to say thank you. When you asked me to come on with you, I was like, absolutely. Just for meeting with you last week, guys, I see it, and just like you said, Adrian, I do not believe that anyone has missed any sort of boat. This is taking off, and I didn't know if you could tell when you put up the price. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe she's doing it for that price. Okay, let's run with it. So all I can say is I would jump on this because, I mean, there are so many little missing pieces, and I did a webinar last night on strategy and business plan, and there's nothing better than having someone like yourself, Brandee, that's already had success, that already knows the downfalls, that already knows, how to drive traffic and how to do this professionally from the beginning. And for that price, I'm amazed. But thank you, because I have some stuff to do for my next one already that I didn't think of. So thanks for having me on.
I love you. Thank you so much. You're a rock star. Thank you. Adrian, you got any parting words as the, remember Charlize when I told you that my community manager wanted me to get a breathalyzer for my phone? That was him.
You just talk too much. Wow, okay. But no, when you all buy the course, I will say that the support that I've seen personally and issued myself is second to none. I've been in some places where you go in a group and you might not get support. They say it, but then they run away. But in this particular case, I can say for sure that Brandee will make sure you get the correct answer, even if it's her texting me, give me the answer to put in the group. You will get the correct information, so that way you won't be stuck. And we have other people who are rocking it, who can help. That's why it's called a community, because we are coming together to help you, so you won't be stranded.
You rock. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, I do talk too much, right? But it's all about transparency. JFBYOU, right? That's it. So I want to thank everybody that came on today. I know it was short notice. I appreciate it. I hope you got a ton of value out of this. Of course, if you have any questions, you can email me, Brandee@brandeesweesy.com. I will go ahead and throw up the module 1. That's what you get if you get Hangouts for Business. When you get Hangouts for Business Producers Academy. Only this weekend for $297. Make sure that you push the cart below. If you have any troubles, we are switching merchant accounts. So if you have any troubles, just ping me, email me, hit me up on Facebook, however you would like to, and I will make sure that you get taken care of. And I will go back and say, all right, I love you all. Charlize, Adrian, you guys are rock stars, and Carol for showing up. That was awesome. Love you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.